Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Michigan Prep Frenzy podcast. I'm Brayden at MI Game Day.
And I'm Tyler at Michigan Prep Frenzy.
All right, today we are going over some of the biggest results coming out of week 5.
Yeah, the season's flying by.
No kidding. I mean, already over halfway through the regular season. Going by a little too fast, if you ask me, but
Agreed.
either way, we have games to get into.
Yeah.
Starting with our game of the week, you and I got to make the trek up to Gaylord. First time either of us had been up there to catch UP team, Bark River Harris, coming down to face Pewamo Westphalia.
Yeah, kind of a last minute deal. Both teams had cancellations last minute. We're both kind of putting feelers out and trying to find a team to play, and respect to both of those programs for making it work,
Mhm.
and respect to Gaylord for choosing to be the host. And we got we got kind of a taste of just how good Pewamo Westphalia really is.
Yeah, final score in that one was Pewamo Westphalia 49, Bark River Harris 0. But I think you and I can both agree that it was a pick your score game for Pewamo. If they wanted to put up 100, they could have. But I mean, really, at the end of the first half, scoring twice there in just the finishing seconds,
Yeah.
and doing so with pretty relative ease, and showing that they hadn't really been pushing too hard in the game up until that point, taking that 35-0 lead and setting themselves up with a running clock in the second half.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because Bark River Harris definitely showed signs of life.
Hmm.
Like, they didn't get the points to, kind of prove it, but they had a few, like, good sustained drives, were able to run the ball well.
Hmm.
They're really disciplined. I think they're gonna be solid still in D8, but I think that PW is just at a whole nother level. I mean, Ty Thalen, just gamer on both sides of the ball, quarterback. Um, just does stuff that D7 quarterbacks don't do. Layering throws, throwing on the run as easily as he does, standing in the pocket, no happy feet. He looks just poised in there. And he was a vocal leader for them the whole night. Just
And that's
great
not even
performance.
mentioning the defense.
Yeah. Not to mention that he was all over as a defensive back, and, probably led the team in tackles as well as, all of his offensive prowess. So, no, great performance by PW. Just makes me really confident for what they can do in the postseason.
Yeah, like you said, Bark River Harris, they had a surprisingly good size for a D8 school.
Yeah.
Coming down here, we could tell that they were a classic UP team, uh,
Yeah.
running a clean, efficient offense that, uh, despite their good size, just never quite got moving for a full drive down the field. Like you said, there were bits and flashes where you could see what their philosophy was and you could see how it would normally work. But
Yeah.
coming up against Puamo's defensive line and just locking them down
Yeah.
completely from doing anything through the air and
Yeah.
forcing them to go on the ground only and just stuffing them in the middle. And then on offense, I'm not sure there's another school in Division 7 that can match Ty Thalen or any of the receivers that PW has, especially Piggott.
Yeah. No, just huge size. Um, yeah, they were more athletic, just
Mhm.
better all around, football players. Their Bark River Harris was a little more, disciplined in what they do, and, fit one style, very one dimensional.
Mhm.
It's not to say that they can't, switch it up. They were able to throw the ball a little bit here and there, but yeah, it's your classic, D8 UP school. It's just gonna run it down your throat. But stuff doesn't work against PW. They're way too good for that. And yeah, you kind of saw the the fruits of their labor all night. So yeah, no, I like PW a ton. Bark River Harris still, everything in front of them still can kind of run that UP And I think they can, win a couple of games in the postseason if the draw is right.
Yeah, absolutely agree. They just happened to run into probably the team to beat in D7.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Tough to argue with it right now.
All right, up next, we've got number one, Detroit Catholic Central, 36, versus number 30, De La Salle, 6. Another huge win, ranked win for Detroit Catholic Central, just coming in right after facing then number one, Orchard Lake St. Mary, and just not missing a beat.
Yeah, no, this team is just firing on all cylinders right now. Um, on the other hand, you've got De La Salle, who now falls to 1-4. Um, only win is over Hamtramck, which kind of is what it is. But it's funny because they were competitive with Davison, and we see what Davison
Mhm.
is, and you kind of think like, okay, so maybe they're going to be fine, and then to suffer blowouts by Orchard Lake St. Mary's, Toledo Central Catholic, and now Detroit Catholic Central. Um, they still got opportunities to win games. I mean, they've still got River Rouge coming up, Brother Rice, Toledo St. John's Jesuit, and then Elder from Ohio to finish the regular season. So there's still opportunities there, but there's also opportunities to drop more games and continue to struggle and fight this uphill battle to get into the postseason.
Yeah, River Rouge, not quite as strong of a team as we've seen out of them before in the last few seasons, but still a very tough out going up against Brother Rice, who definitely seems to be on a pretty resurgent trail right now.
Yeah.
Toledo, St. John's, Jesuit, and Elder, teams that we don't see quite as often around here, but still going to be very tough matchups for a team that at this point is just going to be desperate for a win.
Yeah, yeah, and it could play in their favor. They could just get hungry for a win and do what it takes, but not a position they wanted to be in at all. I mean, I think the Catholic League, you drop a couple of those games and get you behind the eight ball. It's tough to make up ground. So yeah, tough kind of road for them. But on the other hand, Detroit Catholic Central just continues to solidify themselves as a favorite in D1.
Can't agree more. Up next, we have number 9, Clarkston with 21, number 16, Rochester Adams with 7.
Yeah, another good win for Clarkston. They're 4-1 now with 2 wins in the conference. So not much that you can ask for there. OAA Red kind of in their sights. They've got Lake Orion, who still searching,
Mhm.
and then West Bloomfield, who's kind of been kind of the resurgent team in the conference. So um, tough games, but yeah, Clarkston has to feel really good about where they're at. They have bounced back really well after that loss to Harper Woods a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we thought that was a bit of a weird loss, but Clarkson clearly showing that that was not going to be their norm this season. Great win over a very solid Rochester Adams team. And while Lake Orion doesn't necessarily look super challenging, we do know that West Bloomfield is going to be a really solid game there.
Yep.
And finishing with Farmington and Ike. Uh,
Yep.
OAA Red, always one of the best conferences in the state. This year, no different. And Clarkston, like you said, they're sitting in the driver's seat.
Yeah. And I mean, we kind of discredit Lake Orion, but we forget that in week 1, they went right down to the wire with Northville with a
Mhm.
14-13 loss. They've, shown flashes here and there, but have taken a couple ugly losses and now, you know, kind of playing for pride. It's hard to make up that many playoff points. I don't
Yeah,
think, unless they go on some crazy tear and get some help in front of them. I don't think they're gonna, get into the postseason this way. So, yeah, just a team that's gonna be trying to play spoiler. What better way to do it than against a couple of these teams? So, um, Adams and Clarkston both still looking like they're gonna be pretty solid in the postseason, though.
yeah. Back to that Lake Orion. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said that based on one of the models you were looking at, they showed just over a 2% chance of making the playoffs, even if they won out.
Yeah, yeah, they would need some help in front of them and a lot of things to go right. So it's tough sledding. but you can't lose. You drop a few games, especially in D1. It's just so hard to make up ground. It's so competitive.
Yeah, but this is when you start just playing for pride and seeing if you can be a spoiler on somebody's schedule.
Yep, 100%.
Next, we have Byron Center, finally snagging a good win here over
Yeah.
number 21 Mona Shores, beating them 42-35 in overtime.
Yeah, this is a massive win for them. Now, came in 1-3, hadn't beat anyone in state. Their only win was, I believe, against Hammond Morton in Indiana. Um, so still searching for success in the state. Um, this win should give them some really good confidence now. Changing their outlook. They've got Grand Rapids Union, kind of one of those white whales that we've talked about,
Yeah.
D1 playoff points, but probably not D1 quality. And then they've got Reese Puffer, Forest Hills Northern, and then Morris, Illinois. So could end up with still a 6-win season, which was not even really on the table in our minds with the way they started off. So gets them in a good spot getting into the playoffs. So really good win for Byron Center.
Yeah, they're definitely through the toughest slate of their schedule. Looking at that in the rear view and being able to look forward at what are, you know, honestly some winnable games against competition that, not to discredit any of those teams, but competition that they know they can match up with them well on the field and not going to be going in there as an underdog in any of these.
Yeah. And on the other side, now Mona Shores, this feels like a game that kind of got away. Um, and things don't get easy for them. Camp out because they've got Muskegon this week coming to town. So doesn't get any easier for them. They've still got Forest Hills Northern, Union left on their conference slate, and then they have Toledo Central Catholic in week 9. So still a tough slate ahead of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, you got to feel like this was kind of a missed opportunity. Getting it into overtime like they did, you'd love to pull this one out, but it's not how it fell this time.
No, and really, Mona Shores, uh, after this game, looking like they really needed it.
Yeah,
This one has them on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs go.
yeah, yeah. No, it's tough, and it's kind of crazy to look at that, whole D2 as a whole.
Hmm.
Um, Mona Shores, Birmingham Groves, Forest Hills Northern, East Lansing, Traverse City Central, Saginaw Heritage, all sitting outside of the playoffs right now. I don't know what the odds were of that before the season started, but you'd be rich if you bet on it. That's just jarring to see all those teams, still fighting an uphill battle to get in. Those are all teams that I kind of had penciled into the postseason, and right now it's definitely not a gimme.
Yeah, majority of those teams we had in our preseason rankings.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that my bookie does not yet cover high school football, but next season I got a feeling I'll make some money there.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of value there because that was not expected at all. Just
No.
crazy to see, some of the blue bloods and powerhouses, and I mean teams that were in the semifinals last year, just completely whiffing on the playoffs right now. So yeah, tons of uphill battles for those guys. It'll be
Mm,
interesting to see who can kind of crawl out of this hole.
yeah. Well, up next, we have number 26, Divine Child, taking on number 29, Jackson Lumen Christie. Divine Child pulling this one out 17-13.
Yeah, great. This is a great game. Divine Child just giving up their first points of the season, which is kind of crazy to think about, and only letting up 13 to a Lumen Christie team that was, scoring in bunches this year so far. So, um, but on the other side, Jackson Lumen Christie holding a team that was, scoring 43 points per game, holding them to 17 is really good as well. And again, they're punching above their weight class. Divine Child's D4. So, um, yeah, good kind of measuring stick for both teams. Both teams kind of have to feel pretty good about this result. But Divine Child improving to 5-0 for the first time since 2017. So, really good job for them.
Yeah, Divine Child, like you said, coming in here averaging just whopping 43 points per game,
Yeah,
um, being held to 17. Jackson Lumen Christie has to walk away feeling pretty good about that.
yeah,
Always better to come away with a win, but Lumen Christi now with 2 losses on their schedule, but against 2 teams that were well outside their weight class, and uh, not just that, very good teams outside of their weight class.
Yeah.
Divine Child leaving this game knowing that they can win these closer, more physical matchups, and don't have to win every game by 30 points.
Yeah, that was definitely not the score I was expecting. I expected more of a shootout, if anything. If this game was going to be close, I figured it'd be in the 40s or 50s. I definitely didn't see neither team reaching the 20s. So
Yeah. All right, next we have number 10 Rockford taking on number 12 Granville. Rockford winning this one 28-0, and big storyline here is obviously no Tank Terry, one of the front runners for best player in the state, and just Granville looking a little bit lost without him, putting up 0 points for the first time this season, and kind of makes sense now why, looking back, seemed like Terry was getting all of their scores.
yeah, this one was really tough. Great job by Rockford, another
Mhm.
really good win in a tough conference. But yeah, rings a little hollow without Tank Terry out there, and I don't know official word on kind of what his status is moving forward. I don't know how severe this injury is. If it sidelined him for a week, I don't know if it sidelines him for the year or if he's back
Mhm.
in a couple weeks. So, but yeah, just really tough break for them. A team that was playing well, taking multiple
Mhm.
top 10 teams down to the wire. So, yeah, really tough to see that. Granville kind of has a little bit of a chance to regroup. They've got Jenison and Grand Haven over the next couple weeks, but both of those teams are you know still not a pushover by any means. So massive implications out of that game. Rockford now moving to the 2 seed in that district that was pretty much all you know okay red teams. So really good job for them. So getting a home playoff game while Granville now kind of drops down to that 4 seed there would have an uphill battle against Hudsonville and most likely Rockford again. So, yeah, you gotta go through those teams multiple times if you want to make a deep run, and trying to do it without your star guy might be a bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah, hoping to see Terry out on the field again this year. Ferris State commit, but boy, he is probably one of the most electric running backs in the state. Um,
Yeah,
Bummer to not see him here. Hoping we get to see a lot more of him, if not in the regular season, at least in the postseason here. But
yeah,
Granville, season goes on. Like you said, with Jenison and Grand Haven, those aren't easy games by any means, but they are games that they need to be going in with a mindset that they're winnable. And
yep,
even without your star, you need to just have a next man up mentality
yep.
and go in there with postseason in mind and trying to just keep your eyes forward.
Yeah, yeah, that one's not going to be easy, but they've kind of been down this road before, and they've been the
Mhm.
underdog in that conference. So, yeah, I expect them to turn it around pretty quick.
Yeah. Next, we've got number 13 West Bloomfield taking on number 36 Birmingham Groves. West Bloomfield winning this one 20-7.
Yeah, West Bloomfield just, keeps picking them up and putting them down right now. Really good job against Groves, who is, you know, still a team that, trying to kind of scrap their way in. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Um, Came in 2-2, just, kind of ran the board up on Rochester. So, but West Bloomfield just handled them. I mean, they are looking like a legit power in D1 right now.
Yeah, West Bloomfield up to number 13 in our rankings. And I mean, you can't say it better. They just keep taking down whatever's put in front of them.
Yeah, just really talented. It's funny because we kind of forget how really great they were just a couple years ago.
Mhm.
And then they have a little bit of a down year or two. But they kind of got counted out, and here they are once again as a force in D1. So they currently sit as the 1 seed in their districts because um, of that win, and now they've kind of got the edge on Detroit Catholic Central right now as far as playoff points go. They would be in the same district. So having home field would be great, especially if they have to play DCC in round two. So every point counts, and picking up wins against teams like Groves definitely helps.
Yeah, Groves on the other end, just they've got the get right game against Southfield A&T coming up, but
Yep.
heading up against a very feisty Stony Creek team, and then two road games with Avondale and Seaholm. It's not going to be easy, but these are games that they need to go in with a winning mentality if they want to see themselves in postseason.
Yeah, I mean it's a cliche, but when you play your rival in week 9, seriously, you can throw out the record. I mean, it doesn't matter at that point. So absolutely not a fun end of the schedule for them. A team that's fighting to stay in playoff contention, and they are fighting a lot of adversity at the moment. So yeah, they've got a game that they should be able to kind of work some bugs out again. But yeah, teams like Stony Creek, Avondale, Seaholm, not going to give them easy games at all.
No, not at all. Heading over to the KLAA, uh, the number 21 ranked Brighton Bulldogs taking down number 25 Northville 21 to 14. This was a huge win for Brighton. Just rattling off win after win following that week 1 loss to Dexter. Uh, Another big win here. Very good Northville team that,
Yep.
despite the loss, not moving a whole lot in our rankings.
No, no, they're still a good team. Um, yeah, that's only their first loss. They've had a couple, kind of shaky performances. I mentioned earlier the Lake Orion game was, not really pretty in week 1, but kind of give them a bye there. Um, Beat Howell by 10, which, can kind of go either way on, but been really solid. But Brighton kind of seems like the class of the field right now in that league.
I absolutely agree. Brighton not really missing a step following last season. If they've continued it, we weren't sure after that week 1 loss to Dexter, but honestly, the way Dexter is playing, they just look like a real buzzsaw of a team
Yep.
and would not uh, really expect a lot of teams to handle them. So Brighton just kind of have to shrug your shoulders at that one.
Yeah.
And if they keep playing the way they are, they're going to finish this season without another loss.
Yeah, no, they're in a really good spot to do that. They've got Plymouth and Salem coming up, winnable games, obviously, and then they meet Howell week 8. That kind of decides the crossover game for
Mhm.
week 9 on the other side of the KLAA, which kind of all indications point to that being Belleville right now. We'll get to them in Franklin here in a minute, um, but I think that would be a really fun game if we get a Brighton Belleville.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Now we are on to number 31, Grosse Pointe South versus number 33, Roseville. Grosse Pointe South taking the win here, 47 to 25.
Yeah, the score doesn't really indicate how close that game was. I mean, Roseville led at halftime. I think it was 18-14 or something like that. And they kind of battled for quite a bit of the second half before Grosse Pointe South kind of pulled away. So, uh, great win for Grosse Pointe South. 5-0, quietly averaging like 36 points per game, only letting up less than 13 points per game. So, really well rounded team, has a chance to kind of win out and head into the playoffs 9-0 for the second straight season. So, yeah, great job by them.
Yeah, definitely a huge win. Good proving point for them here. Seeing them coming up
Yep,
against a Roseville that, we saw what Roseville did week 1 versus Davison.
yep,
Um, this Grosse Pointe South team seems to be the real deal, coming in with that 24-point average win margin.
yeah,
Uh, Tough to really look at them and see a whole lot of weakness.
yeah. No,
Just kind of top to bottom, a strong squad. And they've got, like you said, a great chance to win out and head into the playoffs 9-0 for the second straight season, which
yep.
is no small feat.
Yeah, absolutely. And holding a team like Roseville, holding them to their lowest offensive numbers since week one against Davidson. So um, Roseville gets Utica this week and then finish with Lands Cruz, Romeo, and then West Bloomfield. So not easy at all. We'll
No.
kind of talk about it probably in the next episode, kind of some of the rankings. But Romeo just made their first appearance in our rankings. We just talked about how good West Bloomfield is. Utica has a really good defense, tough to go up against. So not really any gimmies the rest of the way for them. Um, but I still expect them to win those out and still be a threat come playoff season.
Yep, absolutely agree. Up next, we've got number 24, Belleville versus Livonia Franklin. Belleville finding the win here, 31-21. And Belleville team looking like they've really figured themselves out after that week one loss.
Yeah, now averaging 35 points per game against KLAA foes. Um, only giving up about 15 points per game. So still a really good job by them. Probably still some things they want to clean up. Not a, massive blowout win or anything like that, but Franklin's, gives people games. So good job by Belleville to kind of straighten themselves out. They could have probably, folded after the week one shellacking that they got against Clarkston. Not every team would kind of be able to fight through that and still kind of turn their attention towards the rest of the season. So still have Dearborn, John Glenn, and Wayne Memorial for them. Um, so I don't doubt it at all that they're going to be the kind of the top dog in their side of the KLAA. Probably get a game against Brighton. Probably still a one seed in their district. So as much of a fall off as we've kind of mentioned for Belleville, it's kind of just business as usual for them. Still winning games and being the team to beat in the KLAA.
Yeah, that panic that we felt after that loss to Clarkston definitely seems to be subsiding around the league. Um, they look like, they may not be quite the team they were with Underwood at the helm, but they're clearly still a very talented, very well coached team, and
Yep.
definitely looking to make some noise here in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right, next we have a matchup between number 18 Dexter and Chelsea. Dexter winning this one 42-28.
Great job by Dexter. Just as we talked about, just strong wins. They've looked really good. Dropping that shootout against Saline 61-34. That's a top five team in the state. Um, Probably a top three offense in the state. So, not much to hang your head about there. But yeah, no, they have kind of proven themselves, kind of separated themselves as one of those top teams in their division.
Yeah, Dexter just reeling off win after win outside of that Saline game. They're putting up points like nobody else in the state. Currently, just looking at them, little teaser for next week, but in my metrics that I've put together, they are my number one offense in the state.
Yeah, no, I don't have a lot of arguments. I mean, we've seen some really good offenses so far this year, but
Mhm.
yeah, Dreadnoughts have been right there with them. On the other side, you got Chelsea, who still, they dropped their first game of the season, but not much to be upset about. Still, kind of got everything in front of them in their conference. Pinckney, Lincoln, Ypsilanti, like they still got plenty of winnable games. So, still probably a two seed right now. I think Snooze to You had them projected right now in their D4 district. So, still everything in front of them. Still going to get a home playoff game out of things. So, I think they're still in a good spot.
Yeah, and with how competitive and kind of volatile this D4 looks,
Yeah.
you take the two seed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this, you and I kind of talked about it earlier, but this whole D4 is looking
Mhm.
like just a gauntlet right now. I mean, you've got Harper Woods, Divine Child, Goodrich, Unity Christian, who are all kind of, those teams.
Mhm.
Ludington, Big Rapids, Freeland, Williamston, Chelsea, St. John's, Haslett, all having huge years. You got blue bloods like Grand Rapids South Christian, who's made the state finals, the last couple of years. So Now, still a lot of challengers in that one. I think that one's pretty wide open. I know, we all like to kind of just pencil in Harper Woods. I know that was your hot take was Harper, Harper Woods being a lock for Ford Field, and they might be, but I think it's going to be a battle to see who can play against them.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. D4 looking as strong as it's ever looked, really, especially up at the top. Those top four teams, just absolute juggernauts here in
Yeah,
this league. And then,
and all elite offenses. I mean, can you
are,
imagine the scores of Harper Woods and Divine Child, or Divine Child Goodrich? Like, I mean, Goodrich just shattered their, school records last week,
mhm,
rushing the ball. So, I mean, they're clicking as much as they ever have, and they're defending state champions. So, yeah, I can imagine that this is going to be a really fun battle down the stretch.
yeah. And you say, it could be a shootout, but we could also see what we just did with Divine Child, just two juggernaut offenses come in and end up in a defensive battle.
Yeah, which is not expected at all. So, yeah, I really don't know what to expect of D4. I know we all kind of like to just point at Harper Woods and say, "There you go, there's your champ." But I think there's a lot of teams that are gonna have something to say about it.
All right. Well, next we've got number 47, Brownstown Woodhaven, 49 against Wyandotte Roosevelt, 7.
Yeah, just not much to say about this one other than just want to highlight how good Brownstown Woodhaven has been. Um, Averaging over 42 points per game, only allowing about 8.5 points per game. Just super well rounded, just winning in impressive fashion. Um, Still got their game with Gibraltar Carlson. So, I mean, until then, you put some stock into it, but I think that one's really your game where you know who they are. So, but for now, the Warriors just continue to roll and have kind of been a really fun surprise.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, Fun surprise and a team that, looking at them, especially relative to their competition, putting up a um, just huge scoring margin, 42 points per game versus 8 points allowed. You are really just dancing through your schedule like that. I mean,
Yeah,
if you've got an average of 34 points between you and your opponent,
yeah,
you are feeling pretty good.
yeah. No, they have done a really good job with that program. I mean, not your traditional power, but yeah, no, they're having a really good season. They have finally jumped into our media poll, maybe later than they should have, but I think that the last couple weeks have just kind of floored everybody. Beating teams the way that they have.
Yep. Next, we've got a team that you and I are in agreement on, but probably not a lot of people are going to like to hear it. That would be number 15, Macomb, Dakota, taking down Chippewa Valley 20-0. This Dakota team, one that you and I have been keeping an eye on all season because for, being undefeated, for allowing very few points under a touchdown a game, they aren't doing a whole lot to kind of blow the doors off of their opponents, and they're not doing a ton to impress us. Their competition thus far has been it's been fine, but
Yeah,
they certainly haven't faced anybody who was, a true state title contender.
yeah. Macomb, Dakota has kind of been one of those teams we've watched. And yeah, 5-0, but I keep waiting for them to have that big explosion, have that 50-0 win, and they just haven't. They've just, kind of been just getting by. So, still finding the ways to win. And we talked about that, I think, on the last episode that
Hmm.
they're still finding ways to win, and that's what good teams do. But yeah, a team like Chippewa Valley, which I know is a rivalry game, but you're the dominant team, or at least you should be. And we've sat here at top 15 in our rankings. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to feel about them yet. They're good. They're very clearly good.
Hmm.
I have no idea what their ceiling is right now.
Yeah. I'll say this, just looking at again, some of these metrics I've been working on. Uh, Dakota has really shown up as one of the big outliers in our rankings. Um, they're winning, their defense is showing up, but they are on average scoring less points than their other opponents have scored. So they're just averaging on offense subpar performances. And that is enough to get you by for right now with a really solid defense carrying you. But if this offense doesn't get an identity and start to figure out a way to move the ball a little bit more explosively, they are going to be in some real trouble heading down the stretch here.
Yeah, I mean, just taking a look at, some of the games that they had last year versus this year, you know, they started out scoring 38, 50, 34, 42, 35. This year, 14, 30, 17, 28, 20. Clearly a drop off, playing largely the same, relative competition, I would say. Um, so yeah, just very bizarre that they just have been, getting by, but have not had that big, you know, 30 to nothing is their biggest win. That just, it didn't impress me then. And it certainly doesn't impress me now. And yeah, they've still got Romeo, Ike, Utica, and Oxford. Uh, I don't think any of those teams are pushovers, but I don't know if any of them are going to have the capability to actually take advantage and beat this team. So they could have a very weird 9-0 season, and we just still don't know what they are by the time they get in the playoffs.
Yep. A team that I think you and I are both expecting to see in the playoffs, but at this rate, not a team I would expect to see make a lot of noise. But hey, we're only 5 games in.
Yeah,
They have a lot of time to figure themselves out.
they do. We know kind of what the floor is. I just have no idea what the ceiling is with this team right now.
Completely agree. Up next, we have a team that has done a fair bit more to impress us. That would be number 11 East Kentwood. They took down Caledonia 42-6. Obviously, this is not the Caledonia of yesteryear.
Yeah.
Um, not quite where we had seen them before, but still a very tough team. And seeing this East Kentwood team bounce back after that loss to Rockford with another dominant performance just gives you a little bit more confidence in them heading forward.
Yeah, I mean, they're not out of it by any means in the conference race. Still got to take care of business. You got West Ottawa, tough game against Hudsonville,
Hmm.
a maybe not healthy Granville team, and then Grand Haven. So, there's still opportunities there to collect some more wins and give themselves a fighting chance. But no matter what, this is exactly what Coach Spencer had in mind when he left King and headed to East Kentwood. This is exactly what he hoped for. I
Hmm.
remember interviewing him after their, inter squad scrimmage before the season started last year, and he said, that, year one, I just want to show everybody that we're here. I just want to, see the guys compete, not back down. We're not here to, you know, sit in the back seat for anybody. And hopefully, year two and year three, we start, getting and meeting our goals. And one of those is to win the OK Red. They're right on the doorstep, so I would count this as success for them, but still got to take care of business over the next few weeks.
Yeah, not an easy slate to finish out the season with. Um, They've
No.
got a scrappy West Ottawa team, Hudsonville team that continues to perform very well. Granville, that healthy or not, is going to be a tough matchup for anybody. And
Yes.
then capping off with that Grand Haven squad, East Kentwood, certainly looking like a pretty easy team to slot into the playoff, but certainly can't be looking too far ahead yet.
No, and it's funny because I mean, out of those teams, I mean, Hudsonville's probably the best all
Mhm.
around team there, but I mean, they match up well with everybody. But Grand Haven, low key, probably the most athletic of those teams. They have
Mhm.
insane amount of weapons, especially on the outside. West Ottawa, just like you said, they're hungry. They still compete. This isn't the West Ottawa team that was laying down and losing 36 straight games. So, yeah, no, tough matchup still to go. So, yeah, I like where they're at. Seems like they have got the offense clicking, defense playing well, really well rounded. And it sounds like they're probably going to be the one, at least according to Snooze's projections, that gets kicked over to the east and starts playing some of those teams over there. So that would help them out a ton too, not having to run through the okay, red gauntlet again.
Yeah, certainly nice if you could avoid a early matchup with any of those behemoths.
Yeah,
Up next, we've got number 22 Muskegon taking down Forest Hills Northern 40-21. Muskegon, after coming in at 0-2, is on a 3-0 win streak, looking like
yeah,
they've kind of got things figured out and showing that, we were right to not hit that panic button for them early on and just focus on those games ahead and try to shrug off those losses against, the more elite teams.
yeah. No, that was a tough start for the season. Like we said, reeling off three straight after starting off 0-2, when we started to kind of wonder if we were going to see those same gremlins bite them again this year. But now they beat Garfield Heights 15-8, Byron Center 39-17, Forest Hills Northern 40-21. Three really good and pretty convincing wins. And now they've got rivalry week against Mona Shores. This one means a lot to them. Obviously, this is one that they look forward to every year. So, yeah, huge test for them. Still chasing a conference title. You're gonna have to go through Mona Shores, even if it's not quite the team that maybe they were
Mhm.
last year. Still a tough competitor. Rivalry game.
Mhm.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, one we got to check out last year, and boy, that is a tough, intense game,
Yeah,
and one that we're going to see one in the trenches for sure.
yeah, big time.
Up next, we have very tragic news. Unfortunately, Portage Central has given up points, and I'm going to call it here. Season's over.
Yeah, yeah. Number 17, Portage Central still takes down Mattawan, squeaks by 46-3. So, um, yeah, just continuing to roll, still averaging almost 50 points per game. Just insane numbers. And, I kind of said it the other day jokingly, but this seriously has the parallels of Byron Center. This
Hmm.
feels very much so like what Byron Center felt like last year. Just that team of destiny, just the team, it was just a buzzsaw beating teams up. It feels a lot like that. I mean, of course, they hope that they don't get blown out by Orchard Lake St. Mary's at Ford Field, but this, I mean, this is exactly kind of the feeling that we had about Byron Center last year. So I don't see why they can't have a nice deep playoff run.
Yeah, defense, all joking aside, giving up 3 points this season. We're in week 5 and they've given up 3 points. Uh, Team that's scoring just a hair under 50 points a game. And, we've seen it with a lot of teams that's usually not because they can't score more, but
Yeah,
because there's no point in scoring more. Um, they can clearly play with anybody, uh, you know, obviously hoping we don't see a blowout once they have to prove themselves in the state championships. But with Kalamazoo Central, Portage Northern, St. Joseph, and BC Lakeview ahead, a team that has an excellent shot at finishing the season undefeated and would be your front runner heading into the postseason.
yeah. I watched Goose Poop's podcast the other day, and he kind of talked about they are one of the very few teams that are crossing over with elite offense and elite defense. Top 10 in both by a long shot, top 5 in both. Just absurd numbers, crazy efficiency. And like you said, they probably could hang more points than they have. I mean, averaging almost 50 points per game with, you know, the training wheels on in the second half. That is pretty crazy. So, yeah, I don't see why Porter Central doesn't have a very good shot of making a deep playoff run and, you know, making their way to Ford Field.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, definitely don't go check out Goose Poops podcast. Just an inferior Michigan high school football podcast. Not worth listening to. Everything you need is right here.
That's right. And starting a podcast with your brother is pretty lame. So
Yeah, I would never. Up next, we've got South Lyon 24, number 49, Walled Lake Western 21. A game that we talked about last week as being a decider on whether or not South Lyon was a true contender.
yeah, this is a really good win. Um, I have not really known where to place Walled Lake Western. Um, I've kind of been, here and there with them so far. But yeah, this is a really good win for South Lyon. No matter where I had Walled Lake Western, it was definitely a top 50 team in the state. Um, so yeah, they kind of chose for us when we kind of waffled on it last episode, talking about whether they were a contender or pretender. They kind of made our decision for us. So end up with a huge win, kind of take control of the LVC. So they've got Waterford Mott, Walled Lake Central, South Lyon East, still left in conference, and then Wyandotte in there for an out of conference game. So first 5-0 start for the Lions since 2021, going 12-0 before they lost in the semifinals. So yeah, this is looking like one of those really good teams that South Lyon just kind of randomly has every now and then. So yeah, they look really good right now.
Yeah, team to watch out for. Keep your eye on heading forward. Walled Lake Western, a bit of a tough team to gauge, but regardless of where you have them, they're a solid team, and it's a great prove it win for South Lyon.
Yeah, yeah. Good job by them. That's kind of one of their, marquee wins, I would say. So, yeah, good job by them.
Next, we've got Monroe Jefferson 44, Flat Rock 22.
Yeah, this was kind of not an upset that I had chose. Um, I didn't really realize that Monroe Jefferson was, kind of flying under the radar 4-0. First time 5-0 since 2006. So they've had 3 wins or less every year since 2017. So this is a kind of unprecedented, kind of winning streak for Monroe Jefferson. Good for them against a team, that always is kind of just there, always makes a deep run in the playoffs, consistent, really good flat rock team. So came in at 3-1 and, just well respected. And Monroe Jefferson goes out there and wins by multiple scores. That's a really good win for them.
Yeah, Flat Rock, not a lot of time to lick their wounds heading into matchup against Riverview. On
Yeah.
the other side, we've got Monroe Jefferson getting ready for Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central, which is going to be a huge game come week 8.
Yeah. Now this is kind of make it or break it for them, but I mean, getting a win against Flat Rock, they got to feel pretty good about it, go in with a lot of confidence. So, and Flat Rock, you know, they kind of just do what they do. They're really consistent. They always just run the ball really well. I would not be shocked if they, come away with a win this week and kind of cement themselves as still here.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you there. Next, we've got another upset here with Cedar Springs taking down number 38 Lowell, 35-28.
Yeah, really good start for Cedar Springs this year. I kind of had them, kind of pegged as a favor in the RCA. Um, First loss of the season for Lowell now. Comes in the Pink Arrow game, unfortunately. Great tradition, started by Noel Dean. So, really cool tradition that they do over there, but they get it spoiled by Cedar Springs. So, great job by them. They get Sault Ste. Marie in an out of conference matchup, and then they finish with Sparta, Allendale, and Coopersville. So, finish with 3 straight conference games. Yeah, I like their chances, and I kind of like what they got going on right now.
Yeah, definitely an interesting team. One I didn't really have my eye on to start the season. Lowell, uh, you know, honestly, a respectable loss. Still a really solid team on that side. Um, both teams with some tough games to end out the season, but two really solid squads that I expect to both make a little bit of noise here in the postseason.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Cedar Springs has kind of, they have one of those programs as well that they kind of do what they do. They've got a, way of doing things and they go about it and they go kind of up and down. They come in spurts, but right now they're looking like they're on the upswing.
Yep. Next, we've got another upset with East Grand Rapids taking down number 35 Grand Rapids Northview 10-3.
Yeah, rock fight. So yeah, interesting matchup here. Two solid teams. Um, East Grand Rapids kind of put a bad taste in my mouth with that, kind of blowout loss against Lowell. Um, and then suddenly they've kind of just put together a really good season since then. So bit of an upset here in my opinion. First regular season loss for Northview since October 20th of 2023. So um, kind of shows you where this team has kind of been. So great win for East Grand Rapids, big confidence boost. They've still got Holland Christian, Middleville, Ottawa Hills, and Forest Hills Central left. So some winnable games. Northview on the other side has Middleville, Ottawa Hills over the next couple weeks, and then got Grand Rapids Catholic Central and Forest Hills Northern. So not an easy slate for them. Interesting to see kind of what kind of trajectory this sends these teams on. If Grand Rapids Northview can kind of regroup and win out and kind of beat some tough teams, or if this boosts East Grand Rapids into kind of a next level for them.
Yeah, both teams trying to keep that momentum and not let this trip up turn into anything worse. Next, we're moving on to number 25 Goodrich, who put up a measly 65 points in their win over Clio, winning that game 65-14.
Yeah, this was pretty crazy numbers actually, and Clio kind of came in as the story. I mean, they're
Yep.
having kind of a program changing kind of season right now. Um, and then Goodrich just goes out, shatters the team rushing record with 501 rushing yards. And Jacoby Leggett, senior running back, shattered the single game rushing record that was 325. He has now set it up to 347. So just absurd numbers, just went out and left no doubt against a team that kind of everyone was like, oh, this is kind of our Cinderella story. Yeah, it's over. I mean, they still have, you know, they still got weeks to go and things ahead of them, but yeah, they showed that there's a different level to this, and Goodrich is firmly at the top of that.
Yeah, Goodrich, looking like the team that we were kind of expecting, came out and weren't scoring quite what we were expecting, and then last three games just ripping off some huge ones with 56 points per game. Um,
Yeah,
Team looking like they have figured themselves out, especially in that just dominant run game.
yeah. No, if you can do that on the ground against anyone, let alone a team that, came in unbeaten and had been kind of dominant in their own right. So, yeah, that's a statement right there to put up 500 yards on the ground. That's insane.
All right, up next we've got Montrose 14, Ovid LC 10.
Yeah, good win for Montrose. Low scoring game. Kind of what we would expect out of these programs. Uh, Ovid LC gets their second loss of the season, but only first in conference. Meanwhile, Montrose kind of just looks like the real deal. Three shutouts, only letting up an average of less than 5 points per game. So really, really good team here. Great job defensively. And they've still got Chesaning, New Lothrop, Mount Morris, and Ann Arbor, Gabriel Richard. So again, they've got some winnable games and a mix of, some toughies in there. So we still got Birch Run, Chesaning, New Lothrop before they're out of conference game against Waverly. So again, both of these teams kind of have a mixed mash of some tough games and maybe some gimmies here. So won't know a ton about them heading into the postseason, but good to know they are kind of, right in that same echelon.
Yeah, two teams that clearly playing at that same level. Good to get that barometer game on these guys. Um, Gives us just a little bit more to look at, especially as they head into some winnable but still challenging games.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see what those teams pull out over the next couple weeks.
Next, we've got Vicksburg getting a win over Three Rivers, 28-24. This Rivers team suffering their first loss of the season. Vicksburg moving up to 4-1, and their only loss being to that Grand Rapids Northview team we talked about.
Yeah, yeah, this is a really good Vicksburg team. And I wasn't exactly sure what to make of them and what to make of Northview after that game. I wasn't really sure how good Vicksburg was, and I almost wanted to punish Northview for, playing such a close game with them. Turns
Yeah.
out this is just a really tough team. But we're gonna find out what they're made of now. They still have kind of the big boys in conference still to go. They've got Otsego, Niles, Edwardsburg, and Pawpaw. So they're gonna be battle tested over the next few weeks for sure.
Not an easy group of games there, but if they can come out of there with, even just even in those games, if you can go 2-2 through those, you're going to be a very competitive team and one that is going to be a little bit more battle tested than most.
Yeah, yeah. Ending your season that way is, you know, I mean, hey, if you want to get hot right before the playoffs, you're gonna have to do it in impressive fashion.
Next, we've got Williamston uh, just dominating a really good St. John's team, 43-0. This Williamston team was coming in here pretty hot, but with the competition that they've had, they seemed like they were good, but we didn't know quite where they were at. If this was a team that, was able to run the score up on some of the lesser opponents that they've had on their schedule thus far, but no, coming in and doing this against St. John's gives them shutouts against Mason, Fowlerville, and St. John's, and those are three solid teams that they've been averaging 38 points per game against.
That's absurd. I mean, yeah, just
Yeah.
crazy. We watched St. John's, and that is a good team. Um, but yeah, Williamston just completely on another level right now. Yeah, averaging 38 points per game, like you mentioned, against three of the best teams that they'll play. That's pretty crazy. So, um, now they could pretty much all but clinch it against Haslett this week, and then wrap up with Lansing Eastern, and then finish up with Dowagiac and Redford Thurston. So, I mean, I just if they get by Haslett, I don't know who beats them, until they get into the playoffs. So, um, another team that you've got to watch out for in D4. We've talked about it, a couple times already. D4 is just a gauntlet, and this is another team that is not going to lay down and roll over for anybody. So, yeah, going
Nope.
to be really interesting to see, the kind of run that they might be able to make.
Yeah. Very exciting and always fun to see a team that we don't expect jumping up and giving some of these regular powerhouses just a punch in the face like that. All
Yeah,
right.
no, that's crazy.
Up next, we have the Bird Bowl. That would be number 42, Zeeland West, taking down Zeeland East 38-13. Um, Always a fun matchup. Chicks and the Ducks.
Yeah, and now they've got Unity Christian this week. They've still got Forest Hill Central coming up the following week. They've got Grand Rapids West Catholic, kind of looming over the next couple weeks. So still plenty of times to earn some respect. But yeah, always nice to go out and beat the crosstown rival like they did. So really good job by them. Yeah, still got lots of games that will have implications on playoff race, conference race, everything. So, um, East still, kind of sits. They sit at 3-2, still in the playoff picture. I think they had like the 18th most points or something like that. So they're still in there. They still got Wyoming in there that they can beat. South Christian, Forest Hill Central will be tough games. They've still got Hamilton, which is winnable. So probably, a slate that they can at least split and be happy that they get in the postseason.
All right. Following that, our last game to recap is Kingsford 17, Calumet 15.
Yeah, great job by them. UP battle. Calumet kind of was the team that we were looking at as, one of those teams to beat up in the UP. They've had a really good start to the season. Kind of following their, you know, Kingsford's 4 straight wins after, a 3-point loss in week one to Escanaba. So great job by them. Um, and that kind of gives us another data point. Hopefully that helps Goose Poop a little bit. Another data point for his, computer model to look at. But yeah, great job by them. Flivver's now, 6-0 against Calumet all time, which is kind of a interesting thing I didn't realize. So, yeah, very interesting. They have kind of cemented themselves as one of those northern teams that will definitely be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and like you said, always fun to get another data point here at the very least with some of these UP teams. Um, should be fun to keep an eye out on that Kingsford squad that we were pretty high on them coming into the season, and
Yes.
nice to see that we aren't always proven wrong on that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that covers our game recaps. We are going to follow that up with a little bit of a conference race check in. Just take a look at some of the most important conference races across the state and see how things are stacking up now that we're past that halfway point in the season.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting that we're already halfway through the season and things start to kind of take shape here uh, already.
Yeah. So we'll start out taking a look at the number one seeded Detroit Catholic Central's League, the Catholic League Central.
Yeah, yeah. This is kind of crazy that Detroit Catholic Central's kind of just jumped out the way that they have. We kind of expected teams like, Orchard Lake St. Mary's and, DLS, the teams like that, that we kind of expected to kind of hurt them too, but looks like it's just all Detroit Catholic Central right now. That's kind of not really what we expected. This team, this conference usually kind of beats itself up and doesn't look like that's going to be the case right now.
Yeah, not surprising to see DCC in the lead. Surprising to see how they are taking that lead and just
Yeah.
running with it.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They have taken it and run with it so far. And the team that I thought would be the team to beat them in Orchard Lake St. Mary's um, was no match. So yeah, just shamrocks all the way right now.
Next, we've got the Downriver League.
Yeah, Gibraltar, Carlson, Woodhaven, kind of leading the way, both 4-0 in conference. And, this is one of those conferences that is so big that it essentially takes up the entire schedule. They get one out of conference game, and then everything else is within the lead. So, two-headed race right now between, like I said, Carlson, Woodhaven. Um, Lincoln Park, Allen Park, Trenton, all kind of, just beating up on each other. But yeah, it's definitely those two right now. And they'll get each other here in a couple weeks, and it's basically going to be a conference title game.
Yeah, should be a fun one.
Lots of
Following
points
that,
in that one.
oh, for sure. Now we've got the OK Red. This is a conference that is always unpredictable, but we are looking at a Hudsonville and Rockford team, both at the top of the standings, with East Kentwood and Granville right behind them. And OK Red is always just one of the most fun conferences because uh, really any team could win this most seasons. Rockford, a perennial top level team, but it's been a lot of fun seeing Hudsonville, Granville, and East Kentwood really elevate themselves to being just as competitive.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's insanely competitive right now, and as it stands right now, Hudsonville and Rockford kind of stand alone. But I mean, like I said a little bit ago, East Kentwood not backing down from anyone, have been playing really well. Not gonna drop too many games. So you're gonna have to be perfect the rest of the way. If you're Hudsonville,
Mhm.
Rockford, you can feel them kind of breathing down your neck, and Coach Spencer kind of gonna try and pull some magic out and get this one done. But yeah, crazy. Not bad for Hudsonville and Rockford either, two teams that kind of came in maybe a little bit underrated. We didn't know what to expect from Rockford, and Hudsonville kind of coming off their state title appearance. We didn't really know what to expect. We didn't know what they really lost, or how they would be able to kind of reload. But not bad that both of those teams kind of lead the way in a really tough conference.
Yeah, love seeing that a team like Hudsonville isn't turning out to be a one-hit wonder. Just backing up that, uh, you know, uh, state championship runner-up finish, and coming in and just making themselves look like they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
really tough.
moving on, we've got the OK Gold. This is going to be a huge matchup this season, or this is going to be a huge matchup this week between Hudsonville Unity Christian and Zeeland West, like we mentioned before. These are the two teams that it came down to last year, where Hudsonville Unity Christian was able to get the win. This year, that HUC team is once again looking like just a real buzzsaw, but Zeeland West, um, obviously always strong, following up that win against their crosstown rival, and looking like this is probably going to be for the conference once again.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting matchup because they play a very similar style. Um, so yeah, definitely gonna be a lot of running the ball. You're gonna see a lot of the, power T, straight T, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you're gonna see a lot of running the ball, probably a lot between the tackles. Um, yeah, really fun matchup between two really good teams on the ground. So yeah, gonna be really interesting to see where this one ends up. But it's kind of setting up as big of a showdown as any right now.
Yeah, should be a fun one, and should uh, really, unless there's some crazy upsets down the road, uh, should probably determine at the very least who the front runner of the OK Gold is.
Yeah, yeah, big time.
Next, we've got the KLAA East. Belleville, despite all of the questions that we had at the start of the season, especially after week one, is
Yeah,
showing up 4-0 in conference with wins over Fordson, who's there at second, sitting at 3-1 in conference, and a win over Franklin, who is currently tied with a couple of other teams at 2-2.
yeah, this is kind of what we hoped we would see from Belleville. Um,
Mhm.
and we really had our doubts after week one that they would be able to, kind of shrug that off and get right. So, huge testament to the coaching staff and the kids for kind of having that, mental toughness enough to kind of shake off like, hey, we got our, butts handed to us by Clarkston, and they've done a good job of moving on since then. So still got, a game against Dearborn, but other than that, kind of seems to be smooth sailing. So the big test, it seems like, is going to be that crossover in the West. So right now in the West, it's kind of Brighton seems to be the team in the driver's seat, only undefeated team in the conference from that side. Heartland, Howell, Northville all sitting at 3-1 right now, but Howell's the only one that's going to get a crack at them. Those other teams have already lost to them. So yeah, just seems like Brighton's kind of in the driver's seat to be that crossover, and a Brighton Belleville game is going to be a really fun Week 9 matchup.
Yeah, that Howell team always scrappy. We saw it last year when they took down uh, Belleville in week 9, but Brighton, with the way they are moving right now, certainly the favorite, and Boy, if we get a matchup between them and Belleville to cap off the season, that should be a one.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, Brighton looks really strong after that loss to Dexter. I wasn't so sure about Brighton. But again, testament to them just kind of shrugging it off and getting in a conference play, kind of treating it as a whole new season, and they've done a really good job.
Yeah, next we've got the OAA Red. This one currently being led by Clarkston and West Bloomfield, sitting at 2-0 in the conference each. But not a lot of competition anywhere near them, really, with the next best team being at 1-2, with Oxford, Rochester Adams, both tied there, and then Lake Orion following them up, still looking for their first win.
Yeah, and week 7, West Bloomfield Clarkson are going to meet, basically the conference title game there. So yeah, I believe that game's going to be a huge one. That one should be really fun. Um, Two kind of clashing styles there as well. So we'll see what they whether that becomes a defensive battle. West Bloomfield's shown that they can kind of do that and play that style. Clarkson likes to get out and kind of run and gun. So definitely clashing styles. I'm excited to see what that one kind of ends up as.
Next, we're moving on to the Central State Activities Conference. We have Big Rapids in the lead here with 3-0 in conference, coming off of dominant wins a dominant win against Reed City, 40-13. Um, they've basically got this conference all but wrapped up right now.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the way that they just handled Reed City. I mean, I didn't see that coming. I thought this game would be much closer. Um, but yeah, no, they just have completely taken it with a stranglehold. They've already beat Reed City. They beat Tri County, who are kind of the next ones down at 2-1. Um, Chip Hills, who Big Rapids is going to get this week, and then they'll finish with a 1-4 Grant, who's still winless in the league. So just crazy to see the way that Big Rapids has completely taken over and just completely dominating them right now.
Next, we're moving on to the MAC Red. This one, we've got Macomb, Dakota, and Romeo, both sitting unbeaten in the conference. Both are at 3-0. Uh, Dakota, like we touched on earlier, they've been good, but haven't really done a lot to blow us out of the water. Not the most impressive. Romeo, for me at least, surprising 3-0, looking like a really solid team that should be able to contend here.
Yeah, no, that's kind of how I feel. Just really surprised to see how well they've played so far this season. On the other side, just I have no idea what Dakota really is. We talked about it a little bit ago. Um, Averaging, just under 22 points per game, which is not something we're used to seeing out of them. Um, but their defense has been stout, kind of looking on the brighter side of things, 2 shutouts, averaging less than a touchdown per game. Um, so it's not all doom and gloom for them. They can win that way. They've shown it so far. So I think this will be the biggest test to see if they can win that way. But yeah, so far they've shown that they don't have an issue doing it. Um, so we'll see how this one ends up. But yeah, this one feels like kind of a conference title game.
Yeah, should be a good one, but certainly could be the conference title game. But keep your eye out because conference that competitive, you never know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Next, we've got the Mid Michigan Activities Conference, or the MMAC. Montrose, as we said before, got that huge win over Ovid and they've set themselves up nicely there.
Yeah, now the only 4-0 team in the conference. New Lothrop, Ovid Elsie, both at 3-1 now. New Lothrop will have their shot at Montrose in a couple weeks. Going to be kind of difficult to fend them off. They're always a challenger. So, but yeah, they've outscored their opponents 144-24 so far this season in the conference. Just got another shutout, win out of conference against River Gabriel Richard, state runner up. obviously in D8 in 2024. So they have, put out some really good performances. And, I feel like they always kind of get overlooked. This conference in general kind of gets overlooked. And then when you look at the end of the season, a bunch of these teams win their districts, win their regions. It happens all the time. So, yeah, definitely pretty crazy to see Montrose already kind of take the commanding lead, but they're playing well.
Yeah, Montrose looking like a tough team. Not over yet, but they
Yeah,
are in the driver's seat, and as long as
big
they
time.
don't stumble, they can finish with that conference crown.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got the Big North Conference.
Yeah. Escanaba, Gaylord, both undefeated in the league, which is kind of funny that those are the two teams that, it's kind of between. We thought about Marquette and Cadillac. I kind of thought of those teams as maybe kind of the teams to beat. I wasn't sure what Escanaba would bring. You know, Gaylord kind of up and down. But yeah, setting up a huge, huge game between those two here in a couple weeks. So, kind of a
Mhm.
quiet start, being 5-0 for both of those teams. But yeah, that is a team, that is a game that I would like to be at.
Yeah, that is going to be a good one. Cadillac, a team that, I'm going to be honest, a little disappointed in seeing how they've ended up halfway through the season. But these two teams, both being at a pretty quiet 5-0, should lead to a really fun matchup.
Yeah, yeah, big time.
Next, we've got the CAAC Blue. This one, we've got Grand Ledge leading with 3-0 in the conference, but close behind are DeWitt and Lansing Everett, both at 2-0.
Yeah, this one kind of should sort itself out here over the next couple weeks. Green Ledge set to play Everett and DeWitt over the next couple weeks. So should be kind of sorting itself out, but really hot start for Grand Ledge, which I kind of didn't
Mm,
have. But yeah, really really good season for them so far. Um, and they're out of conference game later in the season. Just that's kind of what they set themselves up for. They've done a really good job of scheduling themselves, some challenging games to kind of build this program the way that it is. Playing teams like Detroit Catholic Central and things like that. Um, but no, they're battle tested, and now they sit atop the conference.
Next, we're going to move on to the CAAC Red. This one with what might end up as the de facto conference championship game this week, when Haslett at 3-0 takes on Williamston, who is also 3-0 in the conference. This Williamston not allowing a point in the conference yet, currently outscoring their rival conference members 106 to nothing. Close
Yeah,
behind them, we've got, yeah, right behind them, we've got St. John's. They're sitting at 2-1 in the league, and Mason with a fairly disappointing 1-2 in conference.
yeah, yeah. It's just kind of a weird season for them. A team that we've been used to seeing. They've made it to Ford Field. They've had a bunch of. Obviously, it's kind of historic how many times they've made it to the semifinals and lost to the same team. Always get knocked out by King the way that they have. But yeah, kind of disappointing to see them at 1-2 in the conference. Fowlerville, Lansing Eastern still winless in the conference, which is kind of crazy to think about too. But yeah, it's all Williamston Haslett, and that game this week should be rowdy. It's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a cool atmosphere. Two teams that kind of have their shot, being the top dog now, with Mason kind of being down a little bit. So yeah, should be a really fun game.
Definitely. Next, why don't you take us through the River Cities Alliance?
Yeah, RCA, kind of a newly formed league. I think this is year two
Mhm.
now. Kennewaw Hills just sits alone at the top at 2-0. Coach Fellows just done a really good job with them so far, making this program really competitive again. Already defeated Cedar Springs, who is now 2-1 in the league, and we just talked about, them beating Lowell. Um, and that's kind of crazy to think that Kennewaw Hills is the top dog in that conference with, teams like Coopersville and Lowell, Cedar Springs in there, but they have kind of taken a handle on this conference.
Yeah, uh, they look like the top dogs here, and be interesting to see if anybody in this conference can step up and prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to head over to the SVL South. This one currently has Davison and Grand Blanc just on a collision course. Both undefeated through the season, both prolific offenses with elite QBs. This is going to be a huge week 8 game, and one that's probably going to be pretty high scoring.
Yeah, yeah, no, that one's gonna be really fun. Um, Two guys that have been very vocal about their campaign as Mr. Football between Jackson Dosh and Jake Morrow. So that game's gonna be pretty crazy. Um, Again, gonna be a crazy atmosphere for that one if I had to guess. Um, no love lost at all. I talked, I think it was one of the first episodes that we did about Coach Weingart's from Davison, just going on local legends podcasts and just calling them little brother, and just having no love for them at all. So yeah, I think that game is going to be as intense of a game as we've ever seen. We thought there was going to be a third head to this monster with Saginaw Heritage, who are now 1-2 in conference after their win over Lapeer. And they kind of have a favorable schedule to win out, but the damage is already done there. So Davison outscoring SVL opponents 112-33. Um, Crazy, just crazy. So yeah, it's going to be really
Yeah.
interesting to see that game uh, kind of take place and be the conference championship game. I can't imagine what that atmosphere is going to be like.
Next, we've got another fun matchup this week for, again, another potential de facto conference title game. This is in the TVC Blue, where we've got Ithaca taking on Saginaw Valley Lutheran, who is sitting at 5-0 on the season. These teams looking to really seal the conference this weekend. Ithaca fighting for, it feels crazy to say this, their 17th TVC title in a row. If the Saginaw Valley Lutheran can pull an upset here, I mean, that would be impressive and honestly a beautiful sight for my eyes.
Yeah, yeah. The St. Louis grad would be, you know, licking his chops over that one. But yeah, just Ithaca just has been the cream of the crop in the TBC. Just been really dominant, and I don't think they slow up. I mean, history is not on Valley Lutheran's side. This is going to be a tough matchup, but they'll get their swing at them this week. So really excited to see that one, see what happens in that one. But I would predict that it's probably all Jackets, and they go ahead and just clinch their 17th straight TVC title, which is bananas.
Yeah, don't see that very often. Um, I'm rooting for Saginaw Valley Lutheran here, but yeah, I got a feeling that this is going to be all Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a tough team, and like I said, history's just not on your side. But would be historic if they were able to pull off the win. That would be a program win.
Yeah, and it would really launch them into, one of the teams to talk about heading into the postseason because, boy, if you can pull an upset like that, I mean, who knows where you can uh, see the season go from there.
Yeah, yeah, being at that time would be 6-0 with a win over Ithaca. You feel pretty good about where your chances are.
For sure. Well, that will do it for us here, folks. That is our recap from the past week, as well as our conference breakdown. We will be back with you later this week to look into the upcoming slate of games. As always, I've been Brayden at MI Game Day.
Yeah, I'm Tyler from Michigan Prep Frenzy. You've got your stuff up on the website from this past week, all your photos from that. I've got a bunch of articles that just dropped as well over on Prep Red Zone, so go check them out.